We can just start, and this is gonna be kind of like a podcast, and some slides. So what's
Next
up,
week we just
everyone?
maybe yeah,
Hmm?
go ahead, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meet the Devs episode 17. As you may know, we just launched a very big patch last week. It was season one finally dropped, and with season one, we got a lot of changes in a new class, a bunch of new maps, everything changed, a bunch of stuff. And with the changes, there have been some unforeseen changes, and we got Chris joining us once again today to talk about kind of like our first impressions of your first impressions and just the week one impressions of the season one. And there is Chris right there. Boom.
Hi
And
everybody. Yeah.
hi. And for people on YouTube, we're doing this live on Discord, and it looks like Discord's a little bit sussy today, and we're just gonna have kind of like a slideshow in both the camera and the slides themselves. So yeah, just so you know, that's why the cameras are 1 FPS. All right, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Yes. That's cord like someone said. Yeah. Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, so I just want to go over like it's only week in with the new season. Just want to kind of touch base and talk about some early impressions and just get all of your like feedback and like Q&A. So this show is going to be mostly just kind of Q&A, less just a bunch of stuff sharing from our end. But yeah, so let's look at how things went with the season so far. We had a lot of good reception, a lot of good metrics for the season. We had our highest concurrency. You know, the game is still small and it's growing, but it's a good sign that the first season, the new content patch is doing well. So we had new record concurrent users, new record daily active users, new record of day one retention. So retention means like if you play the first day and you come back the second day, what is that? What is that? What percentage of players come back? So we had a new record there. And we've also went back to mostly positive and recent and all reviews. I know this will constantly shift just depending on how the game is going, but as of today, that was the case. The game is top 10 trending on Steam for a bit, and it's in this trending list as well, and top 100% best selling on Steam this week. So a lot of really good metrics there. And then I just wanted to share this everyone always wonders like what the percentage of players are playing which class, and it's a really healthy distribution. It's only really like 7 percentage points between the lowest and the highest between classes, which is really healthy. You know, as many of you know, I worked on World of Warcraft for many years, and there the percentage distributions between classes is very drastic, like 2% warlocks. You know, so these sort of numbers are really great. And yeah, so great to see that the wizard is also being played, a new debut class, so players are enjoying him a lot, and that's really great. um in terms of my first impressions, I want to hear yours in the FAQ, but the first impressions that I have first is just there's just a lot of bugs. We kind of I mentioned this in the chat. I sent a message, I think, during the first day, but there was just a lot of bugs that got through. Many that we're still fixing right now, and we've been deploying. I think we're on the fourth hotfix now of deploying some fixes to bugs. It's mainly just because we spend a lot of time on new features and new content for the game, and not as much time fixing bugs. And so and there was just a little more in there than we wanted, and so we're fixing a lot of these now. I think one of the big ones right now is there is this bug I know where if a player dies and their corpse can just become unlootable. And this happens because if it shifts between some server boundary or these sort of things with the interaction system. And so we're working on a fix for that. That should hopefully be fixed sometime this week. And then there's some various lodge bugs that the team has been fixing. The pawn shop now is working. I got some gear that I unfortunately got killed, and I got some of it back, so I could see that it is working. There's some bugs with that too. Sometimes they'll give you back things that are strange, and so we are working on fixing those bugs. But anyway, that is kind of my first impression. I'm sorry about the bugs, and we are working on fixing these things. We'll talk about this a little bit. Kind of goal for the next subsequent patches, or I guess we just talk about this now. In the future, in these next several patches, maybe even the next major content season patch, will be focused on fixing bugs and polish more than just adding new stuff. But I also sent out a survey today. I'll remind everyone at the end of the Meet the Devs as well to fill it out if you're willing, but asking you what your thoughts are and what we should focus on. But generally, I do think that we should probably focus more on fixing bugs and hardening things, or some abilities that don't quite work correctly that we will work on fixing. Lodge quality of life needs. So the lodge got an overhaul. There's several new furnishings in it now, with the tanner and the loom and the forge and these sort of things. And the vision for it is really just to be honest, it's supposed to really be more streamlined and be easier to use than the prior of going to each vendor and crafting materials. But there's some quality of life improvements I think could be made to it to make the loop feel better. One thing we've been talking about is like adding a button or a way to just easily vacuum up all of your crafting materials to go to all the different lodge modules or furnishings automatically. So if you go to an adventure and you looted a bunch of leather or cloth, etc., just hit a button, they'll just zoom to where you want them to go. And then also have a button on each of the different furnishings, so you can click the button to import them all automatically, so you don't have to rustle through all of your stash there. So that would be a nice little feature. The other one that we want to do is so you can craft from all of your outputs in the lodge. So what I mean by that is, like, when you craft at the loom, like cloth, it has the output of all your cloth, finished cloth there. And so, but right now in the game, you have to move the cloth from there into your stash to craft, and we're okay with it just crafted directly from the output. I've noticed other people mention like some UI sort in the stash. That is something that we're also planning to add as well. So that is something that we're focusing on. The wizard is really really powerful and really fun. There's some things I think is a little too good on the class that we're evaluating, but generally I think it's like in a decent ballpark. I would like to hear from the players, you guys, of how you feel about him. Things are settling, and there's some of the classes, like I had mentioned, I jumped into the general chat over the weekend, but to talk a little bit about class balance. But some classes will get better the longer as the season goes on, like the Warriors, like a good example of one, for sure. So we kind of want to see how things settle in the coming weeks. But I'm really proud and happy of the work the team did on the Wizard. He feels really, really awesome. Class balance thoughts. Generally, I do think right now, with the game we've had in the past, we had 4 classes. So we had 2 melee, 2 range, and now we have 3 range, 2 melee. And so I do think that kind of changes up the vibe of the game a little bit, because there are a lot of ranged. And so that's something we're monitoring. I do think the warrior and rogue or could use a little boost perhaps, but something we're kind of evaluating, still kind of talking through and thinking through. But generally, I think the classes feel pretty good. I think all the classes I was playing, most of them up to level 10, and some others in the team have been doing this as well, and kind of they're all feeling like decently in a good spot. We don't want to make them all just like all feel like each other. All right, and then last thing I think here is Morthok feels a little hard, like maybe a little bit too overtuned, and so something that we fixed some of his bugs, and he just became a lot harder. So maybe we're evaluating that to see about Morthog, if we need to adjust his loot. something to remind everybody is that we adjusted Morthog's loot to reduce it a bit. But if you do the weekly quests for him, that's where you get the better loot. So we're still evaluating that too, and listening to your feedback on whether we should improve that too. But overall, I think pretty awesome. I've been really enjoying the season. I think the night map really makes the game it feels like a whole new map. It doesn't really feel like Greenwood. It has this like spooky vibe to it that I really love. That's very immersive. And then I think having the three different maps really adds this kind of fun sense of progression to the game. And so, yeah, really happy so far how things have been going, but very curious your guys' thoughts. But that is really it. And then we can jump right into Q&A and yeah, want to hear from you guys really. So I'll just stop streaming. And
I'll share some gameplay just so we have something on the background. And yeah, we have a bunch of hands raised. Yeah, we figured you guys are gonna have a lot of questions, so Chris, you just want to invite people, or I think
I can, yeah. I could do it, yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. Jiggly, one of my favorite Pokemon.
Hello. So my question is going to be about the wizard evade attack. What do you guys think about the current state of it?
Yeah, good question. The evade attack, we almost contemplated just removing before we shipped the game or shipped the season. It has like a temporary VFX to it right now. It's sort of a retrofitted VFX from the priest. The idea of the evade attack is that the wizard is kind of similar to the rogue, and he has a very kind of cheap evade, and so you could quickly like do a short evade and then use the evade attack. This can help you if you're like fighting a wolf or like a melee player or a melee creature, just so that you can get some like instant damage in there. So that was kind of the intention. I have noticed a lot of wizards. The one strategy I think for a wizard against a player is just like get on top of them and sort of just like evade attack and like use arc-like explosion or this sort of thing. And in that instance, you do kind of use the evade attack a lot. But I think what we want to do if we're going to keep it is improve the VFX and that sort of thing. I think it has stagger on it, which might be too good. So we're also talking about that. But that's kind of my current thoughts on it. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Like my 2 cents would just be maybe take away the stagger, and it still would be fine because it's so fast to get out. Yeah. I think they definitely should have an evade attack though. I think that's very cool. But the stagger and the fact that the short dodge doesn't cost very much stamina, so they can really spam it a lot.
Yeah, one other thing with the evade attack is, like the rogue evade attack does also cost stamina. The wizard one is free, which is one thing we could look at as well. Like you pay the cost of evading in the first place, but then on the rogue, if you want to do the evade attack, you pay an additional cost of stamina. Whereas on wizard, it's free. So, yeah, it is very strong. Plus, it goes through enemies, and right now there's also a bug with it where it stays kind of stuck on the ground for a little bit. So you can also use it kind of like a landmine. Which is not intended. That's been fixed internally already, but yeah, it's a bug.
Okay, that's good to hear. Well, that's nice. Then seems like you have the same opinion as me, pretty much.
Yeah, we have been talking about that, the stagger, and Wayne, how good that is. So for sure. Good question, though.
Thanks for asking me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thanks, appreciate it. All right, let's bring up. Rewind remedy.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So my question you already kind of answered, Chris, in the Discord. It was about us having a global chat. So I kind of wanted to ask about the second part of that question was, are we ever going to have like a ping system for the map?
Yeah, like ping, like when you're in a party and you ping like a a chest or something, so someone knows to loot it, or ping the direction of
Yeah,
the map?
chest or like we can ping so that players are like we can see where players are. You know, like just a ping on the map.
Totally. Yeah, that's something we've talked about a lot. Definitely on the roadmap. I don't know quite when we would add that, but definitely something we totally agree with that the game could use for sure. One I always wish I had when I'm in a party if I'm not using VoIP is like, hey guys, let's extract emote or like something like that would be
Right.
nice. For sure. Yeah, I like the ping idea for sure. That's on the list.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
All right,
Thanks
good
for
question
question.
though. Thank you.
That has come up a
All
lot actually internally as well. People,
The ping, yeah,
yeah, the ping. I got
yeah.
sniped
I
at.
don't think it would be that challenging to add, but definitely it's on the list. All right, let's bring Grist.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, I'm at the bookstore with my wife. I just quickly wanted to pop in. Little love for the rogue players. Is it intended for Smoke Bomb to cost so many more resources than every other class tool? It currently costs 2 iron bars and 3 fire powder, which is very big deterrent from rogues actually using that item.
Yeah, it's funny. Someone on the team mains rogue, and we had this conversation this morning. Actually, yeah, we're talking about it to see if we want to adjust that. There's also another. I think the wizard's is scroll or something is like two eyes from the arcane eye. There's some adjustments that we'll probably make in some of those, but we hear you on that one for sure.
Awesome, guys. Love the update. Lots of fun. Keep doing it.
Awesome,
Thank
thank
you.
you. All right. Yeah, that's funny. Cole was talking about that one. All right, Kingsmint plug. Okay,
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, good. Great job on this patch, by the way. My question, I have two, if that's okay. One
Yeah.
being, are we gonna have some sort of tool slot maybe for utility consumes? Because it's almost mandatory to have 2 stacks of pots, and I would argue for 2 stacks of bandages as well. But not having utility really hurts in some scenarios. And I was wondering about crypt solo duo possibility.
Yeah, we've talked through a plan now that we've been consolidating, or now that we have the new tool belt change. Whereas previously, in season 0, you can bring you could fill your whole bag with consumables. I've heard players call it like the pharmacy or something. You bring the pharmacy in. Yeah, you have like all these potions in your bags, and so we changed it so that you have to have them in your consumable tool belt. I think this has been a positive change for the game, and especially will be better long term as we get deeper in the season. But one of the challenges with this is just that there's a lot of variety of potions in the game, like jumping potion, things like that, and these now become less. It's harder to justify bringing those potions in over health pots and bandages. So just giving everyone the context of what you're talking about. We've been talking a lot about that. One of the plans is to consolidate a lot of the potions. So there's been some ideas. I don't know if I won't because we're still talking about it. But there's some ideas of consolidating some of the potions to make them more concentrated. So there's less number of them, but there's more powerful small number. So we think that those will become a lot more attractive when you're thinking about the 3 to 4 tool belt slots that you have, and it'll all depend on like what you're doing. Like if it's, perhaps if you're doing the crypt, you may want to bring in disease cleansing or something like that, especially once we have the boss in there that has different afflictions. So yeah, we're talking about it. I do tend to agree. One other idea was to convert some of the potions down to be ethereal. So I mean, you could just see Andre here. I see a potion on there, the fountain that you can grab. So that's another option too. Is maybe we convert a lot of them to ethereal potions, kind of like how we did with the sprint one, and they're kind of peppered around the map. And that's another way you can use some of them without having to bring them in your tool belt slots. So there's some things we're talking about there, but I totally hear you about some of the other utility pots. And then the other question was about whether we'll have solos or duos for the crypt. Yeah, that is something we're talking about. Well, consideration we'll have to have is now that there's 3 maps instead of 1 that we had in a season 0, now we have to consider all the various different queues that we'll have, which kind of stretch the player base. And so far, I think it's holding up okay. But you died. Uh, but so far I think it's kind of okay, but it is something we'll have to think about. One idea, if you read the survey, what we've been thinking about is rotating them. So sometimes duos would be up, sometimes trios would be up for the crypt, and then maybe always solos or sometimes solos up, etc. So we want to hear your feedback. If you have thoughts on that, you should fill out the survey. But that's probably what we would do is kind of, yeah, the crypt's up, and then sometimes it's solos, sometimes it's duos, etc. But then try to always have an option for parties, whether it's solos, duos, or trios, up at any given time. It's just spread in the different buckets, whether it's Greenwood Day or Night or Crypt. So that's the current thought, but we internally played it a lot in a solos mode, and it is pretty fun in a solos mode as well. So I hear you on that one.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yep. Thank you for the questions. I kind of knew I'd get that one today. Sure.
Was that one also
all right,
recently?
Yep. All right, KB.
No, I just wanted to say great job overall with the update. I'm loving the Wizard having a medium ranged player now. And then the other question I really want to get into is, as far as the new player experience and tutorial, is there any more plans for refinement of that?
Great question. Yeah, it's something. God, I guess I didn't put that in the deck, but that is something we're talking a lot about internally. I think that's one biggest challenge with our game is it's a complicated game, or there's a lot of depth to it, let's say that, and it's challenging to like learn all the ins and outs of the game, whether it's like the technical attack or just this patch we added a way you could revive other players instead of executing them. It's like there's all these various different aspects of the game, which I think makes it a very deep game. There's some conversation I had with a friend of mine who's been playing the game a lot, and he just loves a lot of the depth of the game. He was like shocked by how deep it is, and I appreciate that. But yeah, it is hard to like learn for new players, especially if they're new to the genre. There's been a few players who emailed me who said it's their first RPG game, which I was like, wow. Yeah, I hear you on that. I think what we probably will do is take a look at the Goldbrook tutorial again. Kind of the original idea with it was that it was supposed to be open-ended, so you can kind of, do the tutorial at your own leisure rather than making the player do X, Y, and Z in a linear fashion. And so I think there's a lot of merit to that design choice, but I think it also causes a challenge of they just won't do it, and players kind of need to be more guided. So we have to like find that right balance, I think, with that. So there's that, and then I think also we've talked a lot about this idea of a more entry-level map, which is the farm Goldbrook, but it would be a larger map, like 4 times the size of Goldbrook or 5 times the size. And this is the idea with this map is that it would be a hybrid PvE PvP map, and so there would be when you start in the map, you're like in a PvE area. And then there's like a line or separation from the PvE area to the PvP area, so you can kind of dip your toe into it and experiment within this map. And so that's kind of the current idea that we're talking about with this map. Zarya's been playing the game a lot, and it was also one of his suggestions. I'm not a RuneScape player, but he was telling me all about the Wildy, and so that's something we're talking about doing for new players.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Great question. Yeah, you guys are knocking out I don't even need to make the PowerPoint. Everyone just covers all the bases. All right, I'll bring up Bronzebeard. I think that works. Oh, there it goes.
I'm so sorry. I meant to unraise my hand because that was my exact question.
Oh, it was
about the new player experience and just getting some like video footage and putting that in the game so these guys can understand. I think that's the biggest question I get on stream, right? Is what is a technical attack? What is an evade attack, and how does it work? So I apologize. I was trying to unraise my hand, but yeah, same question.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Totally hear you on that, and it's probably going to be one of our biggest focuses for the next patch for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, dude.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Blinn. Let's bring Blinn up.
Ooh,
I was just watching one of his videos this morning.
it's been a while.
Ruh-roh. I'm just gonna park in Greenwood here. Can you hear me okay? I'm just gonna
I
hang
can
out
hear
behind
you.
this tree. Okay, good. I'm gonna hide in the bush. To start, congrats on the success of the season. It's been, by your metrics, it's just an awesome season, so congrats on that. And also, thanks for having these events. I think it's pretty courageous to get up in front of all these people and just like take unfiltered questions by the community. So it's really, really cool for us to be able to have this level of touch with you guys. Thoughts on adding a marketplace? I love solo self-found. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great way to play the game. A marketplace changes the complexion of a game like this, and I just want to get your thoughts on, is that something on the roadmap? Is it off the table? What do you think about a marketplace?
Yeah, we get asked, when I originally thought about the game in the very beginning, it did have the idea of an auction house or a marketplace of what we're talking about. But as we kind of developed the game, a lot of the team plays Tarkov as well, which is another extraction game, probably the closest game to ours, to be honest, in execution. With economy. And the marketplace just creates a lot of challenges. If you look at Tarkov, for example, they've been dialing back the marketplace a lot, and they had some bug where the marketplace didn't even exist, and players were just like, "Wow, this is feels so much better in the game." The challenge with the marketplace is just that players stop caring about the gear as much, like in the adventures or in the sessions, and then we'll just buy it from the auction house. So the game just kind of turns into currency farming, and then currency just equals play sessions basically. So but that said, there's one school of thought where it's if the game doesn't have an auction house, it will kind of have a ghetto one, because players will trade and that sort of thing in different by queuing adventures or something together, etc.
They'll find a way.
They'll find a way, right? And so you have to think about, I kind of want to see where the game goes and that sort of thing. Something that GGG does, Grinding Gear Games, that makes Path of Exile, is they have an online web one, so they kind of create this friction for the player. Yes, they have a marketplace, they have trading, but they kind of add this friction that's an online kind of weird thing. It's not like something in the game. And so that gives you the player, the cohort of players who cares about that, a way to do it. But then the friction of the web interface or whatever kind of shelters it away from most of the player base. So that is an interesting idea. But anyway, that's a lot of talk to just say that we have no plans right now, but it is something that we talk a lot about, and I can understand the merits of it. There's other ways to have. One idea I thought about is WoW has this system called a black market auction house, which is a fake auction house basically, but it sells some things just for gold, and it rotates, and there's sometimes rare things in there. I thought about having a vendor. I mean, the vendors kind of do this already, they sell rare things every now and then, but that could be an option instead of an actual player driven auction house if there's a need for it. But anyway, no plans yet, but thanks for the question.
Awesome. That's super refreshing to hear. I think we all love to play the game and just take whatever we can get out of the thing. It's super meaningful. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Thanks,
Blinn.
Thanks, Blinn. All right. Let's see. Tower number 9.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for doing this. I thought the new patch was real cool. I appreciate you guys doing these Q&As. One thing I noticed in the new patch was that I apologize if this was already covered, but the PvE experience has had some major changes. In particular, the elite enemies, so the red enemies and the giant wolves, stagger from normal attacks now. And I'm curious, is that intended? And if so, kind of what's the reasoning behind that? Because I feel like the PvE experience has become like way, way, way easier there in a way that isn't, at least to me, the most compelling.
Right. Sorry. Say that. What I was too focused on Andre getting destroyed here. But what was the thing that you said that you noticed is different? I heard that PVE
It's
is a
all
lot
good.
easier.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in PvE, specifically the elite mobs, so the red
Uh-huh.
mobs and the big
Right.
white wolves now stagger from normal attacks, and previously they only staggered from certain heavier attacks. So like I play warrior with mace and
Yeah.
shield, and in the past the technical attack would stagger them, but normal attacks wouldn't. Now they stagger from normal left clicks, and you can kind of just push them into the wall.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. You're. I'm impressed you picked up on that. Yeah, we did change that so that we call these the specials. There's like 4 tiers of creatures. There's like tier 1, which is like normal ones. Most of the greenwood is that tier. Tier 2 is elites. So the red skeleton was one of the first ones we added. It's slightly bigger. There's higher health, higher damage. And then the third tier is what we call the special, which is even higher health, even more damage, and they usually have a unique look. And previously in season 0, they were immune to stagger, so you just had to like damage them, burst them through their health basically. I I had us remove that because one of the reasons is that a lot of new players don't understand that, and they go and pull some special mob and they're like, oh my god, like it's how am I supposed to fight this? It just doesn't get hit by any stagger, and it's a lot harder for a new player to play against a creature like that. So we removed the it getting staggered. However, I do think that it could use more, like we call them blue or red attacks, like unstoppable and unbreakable. The blue ones just means they're immune to stagger, right? So I think we could add more of those attacks to the special so that the player knows, oh, it's immune to stagger when it's blue. I know what that means, whereas if it just passively is immune to it, you just don't know. There's no feedback for the player. So that's kind of the thinking there. Yeah. So
Okay, yeah, that's cool. And I think that sounds like a good direction to go in if they end up staggerable with normal stuff, but they have those like more readable states where they aren't. I agree that would be better for new players while still preserving some difficulty.
Right. 100%.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
And then
yeah.
I've heard it claimed this is a bug, but I don't know for sure. Some of the mini bosses pivot really, really fast now, like in the middle of attacks, to the point where like they do their attack and you dodge and they like spin around in the middle and still hit you. Is that that's a bug? I've seen people say it's a bug, but I don't know for sure.
That is a bug. I noticed that as well. Like the animated armor, the big knight guy, he does this.
Yeah.
I've noticed that it's not always 100% of the time. We have to like investigate to see what happened there. But basically, he should just lock his facing as he's doing that attack. I mean, just how it did in season 0. So yeah,
Right.
we're investigating that one for sure too.
Awesome. Yeah. Those I think if those things get changed or investigated or whatever, like you said, that'll be real good for PvE. Thanks for the time.
All right. No, thanks for the question. Andre, what's going on?
I'm trying
you're
to
a
chew
class
too much.
designer. You're embarrassing us. No,
Listen,
I'm
everyone's
teasing.
saying Wizard's too strong. I'm trying to prove they're not. Try
Wizard
not to get
needs buffs. it looks
Yeah,
like.
see?
Yeah.
Wizard needs buffs.
All right. Next question.
Oh, I've been invited. Hello.
Hello.
Yo, Katrikan.
Hello. Hey guys, long time no see. Chris, I have a question. Something that I believe that you guys also wanted to nerd it out with the implementation of it, of the mechanic. It evolves around the lantern. It's something that I believe you guys wanted the players to use to immerse themselves in a more darker environment. However, nobody is using it because they are giving away the location for free. Do you have any plans to address that, to maybe either introduce a penalty for the players to use it, a penalty to the player who doesn't use it, or an advantage to the player who is using it, or something along those lines?
Yeah, the lantern was something we added this patch to coincide with the night map, because the night map, I think, and I play it without the lantern most of the time, and so it's lit enough for that. However, some players may want the lantern because it's hard to see in some pockets of the map for sure. There's some really dark pockets to it. So you could alternatively, if you want to, use the lantern to kind of illuminate the area to kind of see stuff on the ground, etc. So it's up to the player to decide with it right now. It's a new mechanic, new item, and we'll kind of see how things go and add things to it. There's always talks of like, well, maybe the lantern affects like if there could be invisible ghosts that try to attack you, but if you turn the lantern on, they run away or things like that. There's more gameplay we could add to it. The challenge with that always is like, if we do that, then the lantern becomes required. So it's tricky, right? But we'll keep talking about the lantern and curious your guys' feedback as well on it. But I do notice some folks on our team use it, and then I also have seen streams that use it. So I wouldn't say like nobody uses it, but it isn't like a hardline requirement right now, and there's no real like gameplay to it. It's sort of just helps you see in darker areas.
It's still a huge disadvantage, though. You have to understand to the player who is using it, because the others can see them in the dark. Right.
Yeah. I don't quite know offhand what the range of that is, of like where you can see in a very far distance. But you're right.
That
That
is.
is.
The tower, and I could see people down between the keep and the estate. I was standing on top of the tower of the extraction, I think, of the keep, and I could still see someone down there. It's
Yeah.
right. It was.
No, you're totally right. That is pros. Chris curse with it right now is the curse.
One
is that...
free suggestion to the fact would be something like you could add the timer to the lantern itself, saying that you have to exit after 50 minutes, 20 minutes of your lantern's oil, something like that. I don't know. You guys can figure it out. Anyway, thanks.
Yeah, no, yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback. We will definitely keep looking at the lantern and see if there's other opportunities to add gameplay there. You know, something I thought about, Andre, was thanks for the question, by the way, but something we thought would be funny with the lantern is put like the lantern on a ghost and have the ghost wander around, so you're like, is that a player or is that a fake lantern, you know? That could be kind of funny. But yeah, I think a lot of different opportunities with the lantern going forward, but I'm glad it's like finally kind of in there so we can play with it. All right, let's see. Next question. Samurai, I've noticed this person's name or this hand up for a bit. Come on down. Yo.
Sorry, I'm just dueling in Goldberg right now. I think some of the questions have already been asked, but just the things I wanted to ask were, do you plan on having like a different slot for the lantern, or are you guys always planning on putting it in the tooltip or in the tool belt? I was thinking like having just everyone having it like innately, just always having it, being able to turn it on and off, and then also doing what you were talking about with the ghost would be cool. And my other question was solo crypts or not solo crypts, and then the other one was mob increase attack speed versus melee characters, because it feels very hard for a rogue or a warrior to kill an elite mob since the patch. I personally haven't figured out how, but it is quite easy on the wizard and range classes still to do so.
Got it. Yeah, the first one, lantern as its own slot. That is something we considered too. I think that if we had the lantern as its own slot, the challenge with that would be lights have a performance cost, and so if everybody has a light in the map and everyone's using it or that sort of thing, it will make it so that people will lose frames on that. So it's a possibility. We just would have to like optimize the performance of the light to think about that, but it's a consideration because it does create shadows too. Like in game development, like there's two different lights. There's a light that doesn't create shadows and the one that does. Whenever it creates shadows, your computer's rendering all like the shadows and stuff, and so that can be expensive. So we just have to we'd have to think about that. The second one, solo crypts, yeah, I was saying earlier in the Meet the Devs, definitely something that I think we want to create a system so that it could rotate to solos or duos for crypts.
Like I could learn how to fight anything. It's not a big deal. Like the boss, I'm assuming the boss is probably not gonna be on the list of things I can kill alone, but like everything else, I'm sure. Like I'm hoping I can find a way, you know.
Yeah, even the bosses were okay if players can do those solo. You'll just need a little bit better gear and be a little bit better. But
like
but
coming
yeah.
from Elden Ring, someone who's
Yeah.
okay with dying like 50 times or 30 times, like to understand the attack patterns and know what I need to do. Like losing gear until I find out is not an issue as long as it's actually like doable without being like a Melania level of crazy, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we're open to that. And then I think the melee versus range for which type of mobs you said? For elite mobs?
Yeah, it's just the elite mobs and the boss mobs. I noticed you increased the
Right.
attack speed on most of them. Like I noticed it instantly. Like as soon as like right away noticed it. And which is okay. I'm just trying to figure out a way to do it as like a rogue or warrior because I know warriors have less stamina than a rogue, but they do have a higher block. So as long as you could block through the first and like be able to dodge and get blocked back, you know, like if you can manage your resources to be able to beat it still, then it's completely fine. I just also haven't I heard someone say it's too early to do balance like specific balancing, and I agree. Like you know, let it play out for a week or two and then like look at it. Right, just like but yeah, it's good. Like I'm happy with what you guys are doing, so
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, melee will always have a more challenging time versus mob, especially if they. It's very easy. Something we always used to say, like on WoW, it's very easy by default. Everything fucks melee, so it's very easy to just make stuff really make melee players have a bad time. So it's something we always think about. And I play both melee and range, so I'm just always trying to think through how the creatures fight. Both types. So yeah, we'll it's not intentional that the creatures became harder for melee. Some of that may have happened just someone else in the chat asked a question about some of the mobs like automatically turning, on a dime on the player. These things are bugs that we have to figure out. So it wasn't intentional we made them harder or have a faster attack speed. Some of these just may have been bugs. Yeah.
I have noticed that like being invisible as a rogue versus like PvE is like almost useless. Like you or if you like teleport, you use Visage or use the clone and you teleport to it, and they'll like instantly be turn and swing like the ogre. Yeah. So I have noticed that as well.
Yeah,
it's just
I've
the
noticed it
instant
too.
turn. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make a note of it to look at it this week because a few people have mentioned it. Yeah,
I'm also having fun with the challenge of trying to figure out how to beat it. So, I'm currently trying to. I used to think if you're on Dagger Rogue and everyone says PvE is horrible, but those people didn't realize that the Wraith was actually really easy to do. But now, since the increased attack speed, I'm trying to figure it. Like I'm having like fun, and it's challenging to try and figure out what to do versus it now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
the
how to
one
beat it.
good. Yeah, for sure. No, I think you're totally right. I think one of the mobs that feels good to me when it comes to melee and range is the fire mage. Like the fire mage, actually, the skeletal mage. That one, I was just looking at the number of deaths in Greenwood, and it's like up. It's always going to be up there, like top 2 or whatever, because that creature can be lethal if you don't know how to evade the fire pyroblast that it does. Yeah,
the ground
for
attack.
range, but it kills more range than it does melee, and that's because when in melee it does this like flamethrower, which is a lot easier to
really
avoid as
easy.
melee.
You just dodge to the back of it.
Yeah, so I think we need a little bit more creatures like that, where for range it's challenging, but for melee it's a little bit easier.
If you mix it in with other mobs too, it can be pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's just very easy for designers to make all melee attacks on a creature and then be like, oh, I never thought about the ranged. So yeah.
I know it's great. I love what you guys are doing. Night map feels like completely different. Like for the first 3-4 raids, it felt like a completely different map, like completely different. Until I started like okay, it might be dark, but like this is the castle and this is this part and this is, and then you start getting it down. And then it's very fun. You guys did a very good job with that.
Thank you. Well, appreciate the question.
Awesome. You guys have a good day, and I'll enjoy keep playing. So,
thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, next question. Let's see, Chief Potato, making me hungry.
These names.
What up, Chief?
Hello.
Yeah.
Great game. Love the new patch, guys. It's really fun. The question I had was around warrior. It feels like some of the changes to weapon switching have kind of made it slightly more one-dimensional as a class. Is the design goal there for that to be the case, as in like it's just a lower skill cap class than say the wizard, which is much more kind of twitchy and a lot of utility, for example, with the teleporting, etc. Is that the goal, or are you looking to find ways to maybe make it a bit more complex as a class?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you mean by that exactly? Like, what changes to the weapon do you mean?
So like weapon switching, it feels like there's a bigger delay now, and
Oh,
I think the goal there was like to prevent, say, jumping in, then switching to the axe and doing a whirlwind, and then maybe switching back to your mace and shield kind of dynamically because I guess in that scenario the warrior could become quite a complex class because effectively you're dealing with twice as many different abilities that you can combo versus say just like the abilities of a single weapon. So you're just limited to say 3 abilities. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just adds
right.
significantly more combinations that you could combo if you had faster
Yeah.
weapon switching.
I get what you're saying now. Yeah. So we did we did make some changes to make it so that um, weapon swapping, like in this very high twitch way, isn't really was never really intended to be a thing. I think the spirit of switching your weapons, obviously he has a weapon swap mechanic and it's core to his class, be able to switch between 2 modes of play or 2 weapon types very quickly, but it isn't supposed to be like, okay, I press one normal, then I switch to another normal, and I switch back to another one, like in a very frenetic way. I know a lot of games are designed with that in mind, or that may be part of the core intention or vision. That was never really intended for the warrior to have to like do that at that degree. However, I do like the idea of setting up on one weapon type and finishing the player on another and switching out depending on like how the fight is going. I think there's more work to be done to add more depth there. I think right now we're trying to focus on making each of the different weapon types have a strength and weakness and have a goal and gameplay intention. So I think you'll see more of that depth over time as we flesh out the warrior, and once he gets like a 4th weapon at some point, we'll also change up that experience. So it's definitely not intended that the warrior has a way lower skill cap or skill ceiling than some of the other classes. That said, usually warrior is a more accessible class in most games because it's the most identifiable. A lot of times players will just play a warrior because they play a warrior in every other game. So in some sense that is kind of an intention, some sort of an intention. But yeah. Anyway, that's kind of the thoughts on that. I don't know exactly all the details on all the different warrior swapping things. Maybe we could do a deeper dive in that gameplay at some point in time. But yeah, anyway, I hope that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, it does. I think it's struggled a bit with like balance because it's one of those classes where like if the warrior gets in real close, you can kind of 2-shot people or just do like a whirlwind thing and just kind of wreck someone with full health, and that makes it very challenging because people say, oh, that's completely broken, whilst other classes maybe don't recognize the amount of utility to evade and dodge and all of these other things. So I think, maybe balancing some of that one-shot capability with warrior might kind of help balance the higher skill levels with the lower skill levels, so you kind of have like a uniformity of balance across all of those skill levels. Yeah, that was just my 2 cents, but yeah, I love the game, played a lot. I've got like 300 hours in it now or something crazy like that. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's a
I
lot
appreciate
of fun.
it. Yeah, no, thanks for the feedback. At some point in time, we will do like a deeper dive on all the different classes and get more thoughts. I'll bring others on the team who work on them too to answer some of these things. But no, I appreciate the question.
Well, thanks, guys.
All right. Let's see. Blank shade. I don't know if he's there. Or they are there. We'll just skip them for this one. On the attack.
Hey, hello.
Yo.
Hey, I'm sorry I joined in here a little late, but I was wondering if you guys had anything with quality of life. Like for an example, I would very much enjoy a sort button for my stash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's becoming quickly one of the most top voted feature requests. That is something, yeah, we're definitely talking about doing. 100%. But I feel
Sounds
you.
good. How about this is just more of a, it's not a problem, but it's more of a annoying me thing. Is there a way we can just slide the weapons off your inventory instead of right click drop?
Slide them
I
off
think
your
that would be a
inventory.
nice quality of life change as well.
Yeah, can you explain that one? I don't.
Oh, like drop in like
I
this?
don't quite get.
Yeah, like kind of exactly what you're doing there.
Oh. Yeah. No, yeah, that is on a list somewhere that we'd like to do for sure.
I mean, other than that, I'm really enjoying the season. You guys are killing it, in my opinion. I think it's great.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you.
thanks for the question.
Yep. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, Blank Shade.
Hey guys, love the game. I noticed you've added a lot of new mobs, and they seem to have a lot of depth to them. And my question is, did you have any intentions on adding a lore book or any way for the player to kind of look up how the mob like interacts and what the player can do like to fight it without having to go out into the like night and do it while also watching over their back? And thank you for the time.
No, cool question. Yeah. There are people on the team who would love to like add more lore to the game or story or these sort of things. Kind of our philosophy with lore or storytelling is try to tell stories through the world, through the creatures, through how it looks, and it's kind of up to the player to kind of interpret that and that sort of thing rather than like written lore, that sort of thing. But I think what you're kind of more saying is kind of like some games have like a compendium or something where after you've encountered a creature, you can learn a little bit more about them and like some of their tactics of fighting them and what they're supposed to be doing and maybe some backstory. That is something I'd love to do in the game at some point in time. During early access, we're just focused on creating the gameplay first and feeling out which kind of creatures, what designs we want to keep, because we could write all this stuff right for the creatures, but it may change through early access depending on your guys' feedback and depending on how things go. And so I think once the dust settles, once kind of like we're like we love this certain like how this the bandit, like yes, this is how it works, and we could write the bandit lore and that kind of thing. I think we will do it then. But I get you on that question. I think definitely would help newer players as well. So it's something we want to grow into over time.
Thank you again. I do love the game.
Awesme. Thank you. I really appreciate that. All right, Andre, who should we bring up next? Oh, you switched to Rogue now, huh?
Yeah, I was getting farmed too much on Wizard.
All right, I chose something.
Okay.
Add to library.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yo, how are you?
Good, thanks. Love the game. I joined a little late, so apologies if any of these have been asked. But when do you think controller support's going to be coming along? I've been playing on the Steam Deck in the evenings, and it's a little hit or miss because I gotta like map the mouse to the controller. Also, other questions I had: is there going to be a commendation system? I've had some really good interactions with people in the game, and I'd like to be able to give them like a little thumbs up or something like that. Also, there's this other game I've been playing called Singuality. It's an extraction game, and when you die, it shows you all the loot that you lost. And it kind of stings, but it also shows you, you could have had this, and it's kind of fun in a way. And one more thing is, I was wondering if you guys would implement some sort of like player or house profile that you could look up, see how many commendations a person has, see how many hours they have in each class, stuff like that.
Okay, commendation. I'll talk about that one first. Yeah, I really like the idea. I haven't quite thought about that. We've talked about doing like sort of a karma system or something like that. So depending on how your encounter went, you can kind of like thumbs up or thumbs down the player, these sort of things. And maybe that has some effect on on something in the game, like some progression system or some sort of cosmetic, or maybe it's just for fun or something like that. So we've talked about doing stuff like that for sure. But I like the spirit of that idea. Showing the items that you lost after you extract. I like that we actually had this in our prototype for years. And when we redid the UI, we didn't make real estate, didn't make room for it, but not against that idea at all of showing the items that you lost. Because sometimes I was like, wait, did I have that? What did I have again? Also, kind of seeing the items that you kept or something in your safe pouch could be highlighted at the end of match. We do want to change the end of match a fair bit going forward. We have a bunch of other different ideas with that. And then what was the first question that you had? There's another one.
Steam Deck and player profiles.
Oh. Yeah, the controller. Yeah, so the game has always been intended to play with the controller. We prototyped it in the very beginning with the controller mostly, actually, and not mouse and keyboard, because we knew that would be an easier thing to design with. So that's kind of why the kits and kind of the move set is how it is. We think it will play really well on controller and console, and that's kind of one of our goals with Goldmaster is to ship the game on console for Goldmaster for like when the game is out of early access. We worked on it a little bit this milestone to retrofit some of the. We're always kind of working on it, but this wasn't a milestone where we were just focusing a lot on the controller, mainly because we're kind of still tuning a lot of the class kits, a lot of some of the moveset and stuff like that. And if we spend a lot of time on the controller, we'll have to change it again. And so, but we always keep it in mind whenever we're designing the game or doing UI or these things like that. It's like, okay, how would that work on the controller? Which is kind of annoying to us. Sometimes we're like, fuck the controller. Let's just make it work for right now. But no, definitely we do think about that. And then Steam Deck, we have a really great tech artist on the team. So those of you who played the game, some of our creators played the game a little bit like a week or two before the patch went out, and the performance had a lot of issues, and he's kind of our wizard and really optimized and improved the frame rate. Came out the cut with that one, and he's always wanting to make the game work on a Steam Deck. I know he has a Steam Deck himself, and so it is a priority for us. It just takes time to optimize the game to make all things work on it, because the Steam Deck is pretty meaty and powerful, but it's on one of the lower end of min spec. Like we'll have to optimize our min spec basically. So it is a goal for us that we do want to do that as well for Goldmaster. It's just time basically. So yeah. I think did I get all this, or is there another one?
There was just player house profiles, so you could look up somebody, see if they have. You haven't added any titles or anything like that, but have you ever played Monster Hunter? You kept the player profiles where it shows how many hours they have in each class or with each weapon, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. It's on the roadmap at some point in time as well. I think once we add guilds or these other social features, those will become a lot more important because you may want to do a background check on somebody. But yeah, it is something that we do want to add. But yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, good questions. All right, we could do a couple more, Andre.
Mm-hmm. I'm just playing the game. You're doing all the work.
Yeah. Let's bring up Doom's song.
Hello.
Yo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Cool.
Great season so far. I've just barely been able to scratch the surface of it. I played a little last night and today. And the social hub, I gotta say, is 10 out of 10. That is the coolest thing I think I've seen in a game like this, right? Because there's a lot of these other kind of games, like these extraction games, but having a space that we can have PvP on, so you're solving multiple problems here, right? You have PvP on demand you solve, right? You can go, and you can also go in there and hang out and wipe with people. Anyways, I love it. It's great. That's like my statement or kind of my setup here. But where do you see that expanding, like in the future? Like, Like, what's your idea? Because I imagine like guild houses and like stuff in like maps. Like, kind of what's your vision for the social hub and like where will that go in the future? I mean, I know we got a lot of other stuff to solve first, but just kind of bigger picture.
Yeah, no, thank you. And really, it was a community request. This is something that you guys all asked for and suggested. It was something we never originally planned on adding. And I often wondered about it because I was like, does it really make sense for this type of game? But it was something that I felt like the community wanted. And, the game is, like I mentioned earlier, it has a lot of depth, a lot of complexity with the combat system, especially. And so really being able to duel each other, play test against dummies, and kind of chat with each other in there is a good. I think it just has a lot of value. So I appreciate the kind of call out of that feature because I do enjoy it as well. Long term with it, I think we will. We mentioned this in Meet the Devs before, and I think I talked to the team about this too. It's sort of an experimental feature. We'll kind of see how it goes and see um, uh, ways that we could expand it. Already playing through it, I think one way that I think could be a little bit better is if it didn't have a timer. Like, there's been this funny culture of like, all right, guys, we'll see it when it spins back up or whatever, and we'll requeue. It's sort of a technical limitation why it has to be that way for now. Over time, perhaps we could just always have it as persistent and just always sort of up. But right now it just has to be that way. So that would be like a really short-term improvement I think could help. Something I thought about is if we're going to have Goldbrook as like a mainline map, we could just merge that with the tutorial. The PvE area could be kind of like the tutorial area, and it could have like some gameplay in there. That's like one idea I thought about. There's some problems with that of just like, wow, everybody in a mainline map is just hanging out and not really doing anything. That might be kind of weird. So there is that. Another fun idea I thought about is we could have some sort of, I don't know what it is. It could be intertwined with the karma system, and we could have a tavern in Goldbrook, and only the people who have good standing can go to the rooftop lounge or something. I don't know. There's a lot of fun stuff I think we could do with it. I've also thought about like costumes you could only wear in the social hub, or cosmetics, stuff like that. I don't know. There's a lot of like fun ideas we could do with it. It just depends on how the feature goes and if it still remains popular and etc.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. The core focus of your guys' development should be PvP. Give us.
These are always fun little projects. So, but yeah,
right.
I agree.
Good side.
Yeah.
Good side stuff. But yeah, thanks for talking. I'll be seeing you guys later. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Doomsong. All right, we could do 2 more, and then I think it's a.
I think Song wanted to say something as well
Oh.
towards the end.
Oh yeah. Okay. We'll 1 person, then we'll bring Song up. All right. Let's see. Bangarang. Bangarang. Did he get it? Might be AFK.
He might have left, yeah.
Let's see. We could do Dishonor.
Hey, friends.
Yo.
First off, thank you for the game. Thank you for all the hard work. I know there's been some negative feedback with those 0.2 hour played on the Steam reviews, and I really appreciate you guys for pushing through that, as we see mostly positive now. I think my biggest question is how high up on the bug list is not being able to loot players if we move too far away or take too long cleaning up the trios fight?
Yeah. At the top of the call, I had mentioned that as well. It's a bug that one of our engineers is focused on right now to fix. It's a little tricky one because it involves internally it works fine, but when it goes to the live environment, like what you guys are playing, it breaks, and so those ones are always a little bit tricky to figure out. So, but yeah, it's probably one of our biggest focuses right now to get that bug fixed for sure.
Awesome. And then I had one more side question, because I did see in the chat that had already been answered. I apologize for taking up a slot. Are Are we happy with the way the audio is? Sometimes it seems like I can hear teams fighting mobs from the other side of main POIs, and that kind of leads to maybe unintended PvP encounters.
Yeah, we've noticed this as well, like in the build. So the vision with audio is super important for the game, and it's a big dynamic with gameplay, and so it is something we focus on a lot. However, I think this patch has a lot of some performance issues with audio, and so we did some changes there. But it could have been screwed up some of the gameplay or some of the attenuation ranges, or causes some oddities. And so it's something we're definitely like looking at right now, for sure. So, and there's also like when you go to some areas, the ambience can switch and that sort of thing. But yeah, appreciate that feedback. It is something that we're looking at.
Awesome. Well, that'll be it. Like I said, I really appreciate you guys doing this. I've heard others echo that it's really nice of you guys to have these kind of community days. So
Yeah, no, this is like a dream come true for a developer. So really appreciate talking to you guys.
no, thank you.
All right, Bangarang, are you back?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, so during the free weekend, there was a large part of the general population on Discord that was very frustrated that they were, as new players, being put in with the people that were very experienced, had all their levels unlocked and skills and traits and all that stuff. And the Steam reviews seem to mimic that, at least the negative reviews seem to mimic that sentiment. And I was just wondering if that's something you guys are looking to change, and if not, what would be the advantage for those new players to be put in those scenarios?
Yeah, so the game has something we added mid last season was something called a newbie queue. So players who are new, we have a criteria that we select by their level and experience in the game. There's all this mixture of criteria. And those players are put in their own session away from other players who have already, got max level or that have really good gear, etc. And so we have that system in place. We were looking at it today because it may not be functioning correctly, which could make sense with some of, like what you're saying, some of the players' experiences, the reviews, and that sort of thing. So we're taking a deeper look just today on that. And so I don't have anything to share of like what exactly is going on, but the intention is for newer players to be kind of siphoned off from the mainline game until they have a little bit of time to kind of learn mechanics and get a foothold on things. So yeah, we're looking into that.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I hate seeing Steam charts in chat. You and I have talked about that before. And so I just want to see as many people come to this game and have just the most fun experience possible, especially as new players, so that they stick around. And, when you send out requests for feedback in the Discord, it's great that all of us here that love the game and see the potential in it can fill that out. But the people that didn't have a good impression, they're not here to stick up for themselves,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're totally right about that. And that's why it's so important just to play your own game and then have people who are new players and kind of observing them. Some of the best streams I always like watching are folks who were playing it for the first time, never played the game before. There's a few, during the season launch that I was watching with that. It always gives you a good perspective of like, wow, that's not, we get used to it on a team of like, this makes so much sense. But for a new player, there's a lot of things to improve. So, this patch, the spirit of it was to add more content to the core player, to like fine tune a lot of loops, to experiment with some stuff, add a new class. But I think the next patch and some of our focus will be to improve the onboarding, improve some of the clunkiness, the UX issues, and to make the game more accessible to newer players so they have a chance to learn the game. So yeah, I think it's great that you guys in the community all have this sentiment, because I think it's the right one to have, I think.
Right on. Well, thank you so much. And again, everyone else has said it, but fantastic job on the patch. It's incredible.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Sung, it's your time.
Get him in here.
He can bring himself up, I think.
Yeah, he's here.
All right, he's here. Sung.
I can bring up myself. Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody who may have not met you yet?
Hi everyone. I'm Sung. I'm your Discord buddy. But
Yeah.
very nice to meet you all again. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that make sure if you haven't already, like please complete the survey that Chris just posted. We really read through every single one of them, Chris and I, and so
Mhm.
and it'll really help us like kind of determine what our next milestone is going to look like what we need to prioritize on. And so yeah, please do that. And yeah, thank you for the emotes. Yeah, appreciate it. And one more thing. I'm gonna turn on 1v1 deathmatch right now. So I know a lot of people have been asking about like, please open up the deathmatch, and so I'll open up 1v1 deathmatch, and as always, I'll turn it off before I go to bed. Yeah, Andre, do you want to show the players like where to? Because I'm
Yeah.
sure there's going to be a lot of new people that are don't know how to access the deathmatch. Okay, let me turn it on real quick. Hold on, stay right there.
Okay, I'm staying right here.
I don't know if it will like live. You'll have to wait till he turns it on, then you'll see the map. Okay.
No. Go to the map.
Okay,
select.
this will be a new experience for me. We'll see.
No, it should work. Okay.
Boom.
See?
There it is.
Oh yeah! Wow, it just pops up
So
there.
yeah,
Welcome
it's
to the
1v1. I gave you all purple gear. Have fun. I'll turn it off around like I don't know, like 9 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, have fun there.
For 5 hours.
And yeah, that's it, Chris. I didn't know if you had anything else.
No, that's it. And I just want to thank the community for getting the word out there to your friends. We could totally tell that you guys did that, and all of your feedback and everything really helps us guide the game. So just want to thank everybody for that. I've gotten a lot of emails, a lot of messages like, how could we support you or whatever. The best way you can support us is continuing to send feedback on the game and let your friends know about it, and helping onboard them, like for new players. We added this feature. A lot of people have told me it's their favorite feature. It was this kind of small one, but to be able to resurrect others if you down them. And so, if you find a new player and you want to fight them and resurrect them or whatever, that could maybe help. And then the last way you could help, of course, is just we added a lot more value to the upper tiers of the SKUs of the Founders Edition and God Tier Edition, and all of the proceeds to that help development of the game and extend its lifetime and help us show potential investors or current ones or publishers, whoever they are, of like, hey, look at our community really supports us. So purchasing those upgrades help us a lot. So but yeah, we'll continue to fix all the different bugs and do some improvements and be back soon to talk about other changes and updates we'll do to the game. I think that's it, Andre.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot for watching.
All right.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Watching Andre die over and over again.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm doing the